moving on, because we could talk about the Midwest all day. Um, my gosh, did you see this? Well, let's talk about renters. Let's talk about renters first. Not news to us. We have dealt with this. Not I'm not saying we've solved it, but we have had to put a lot of effort into nip it in the bud. And that is fraud in multifamily renters. New piece from Wall Street Journal. Renters are conning their way into luxury apartments. This piece is about Atlanta, which I have heard is kind of the epicenter for fraud. A lot of folks, weren't able to evict people from apartments. It's a whole story. It was a mess down there. It was eviction moratorium, which was just a horrible thing, horrible decision. Atlanta, where up to half of rental applications contain fraudulent information, is epicenter of the national surge in these scams. And a couple anecdotal kind of TikToks of folks showing other prospective renters how to commit fraud, essentially. This showing an ad here saying, need to move but can't get approved? Purchase my apartment package. You get a CPN, 4 pay stubs, 1 bank statement, rental and employment verification, completed application of your choice, done by me, hand heart emoji. It's just so easy. And another one, when your client gets approved for an apartment with fake pay stubs, guy is looking good, living that luxury, big shot life, hooking people up, scamming apartments. But the thing is, you don't need to go to these guys. Mm-mm. And I hate saying this, it just go to YouTube, just Google right now. As a person watching the Gray Report, you're probably not scamming an apartment. You're probably thinking about how to invest in apartments and worried about scammers like this. But Google it. It's incredibly easy to generate fake W-2s and fake pay stubs. How do I know? Because we had an apartment community here in Indianapolis where we had a ton of fraud. Mm-hmm. It was way too much fraud. No one was paying rent. And it turns out everyone was committing fraud. We were using a verification system that the renters had figured out that they could change like a birth date. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't verifying that one piece of information. And so it would come back as approved. Or they could just go get completely fraudulent documents. And what happens is when the money doesn't come in, it's not like, the landlord doesn't go on their next vacation. What happens is there's not a budget to fix the apartment when it breaks. Mm-hmm. And it caught that specific community. We are already dealing with other issues. Expenses were high. Interest rates had run on that particular deal. It was one of our few floating rate loans. It was capped. Not fortunately, it wasn't a bridge loan or anything, but it was still floating rate. And so our escrow payments had gone up significantly more than we had originally anticipated. All was fine, but it was pretty skinny. And so then on top of that, we had delinquency rates 1 month of 35 to 40%. Only 60% of people were paying. We're expecting 95% of people to pay. It was not good. So this has been going. That was about 2 years ago.
Yep. I was going to say a year and a half, but
year and a half.
I like 2 years.
That's when we were really dealing with the peak of it. We brought in complete new systems, ramped up our verification, also brought in a whole team that works with folks on delinquency. And so we have gone through a long process to try to eliminate bad debt, to eliminate fraud. But you can't eliminate all fraud, so quickly determining which of our current residents are real residents who want to pay but may have fallen on some sort of hardship, mm-hmm. which we understand, and we have programs to help folks out like that, or someone who is lying to us, has no intention of paying rent, and they've just completely scammed us, and they're trying to see how long they can get.
How long can they exist?
So we first got to triage that, kick those folks out, try to keep the good apples.
Right. How does this issue compound in a state that's maybe more tenant friendly?
Oh, it just makes it even worse and worse and worse, because let's say that you find out someone has committed fraud. Mm-hmm. Well, in Indiana, it's a pretty straightforward process. We can go to a court. We can evict them, essentially, right away. Now, some judges, depending on which judge it is. Maybe more could be more tenant friendly or landlord friendly, but in most of those cases, it's relatively straightforward. Especially if everything's been documented. This is what they've done. I mean, if you can actually show that they've committed fraud, it's pretty straightforward. It's when it's a gray area, or when usually the folks that have committed fraud, that they just leave, they just disappear. But if it's in a situation where you're combining that with squatting, and I think it's more of it's not like the problems themselves are going to compound inside of each other, but it's just they layer on top of each other. So you've got some folks that are committing fraud. You got some folks that should have been evicted 3 months ago, but you're waiting. A judge has given them more time and more time and more time, or you have to wait a certain amount of time before someone can be evicted. Or in states like California, where it's pretty easy to establish residency and to be able to squat somewhere for an extended period of time. So if you have that on top of people committing fraud, it's like, how do you make any money in this business?
Unknown. Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, and it comes down to a little bit to the broken window theory, though, which is like in New York, where to address crime, it can't look like a place that has crime going on. Can't have broken windows, because if you have one broken window, it looks like, well, why don't I just throw another rock or break another window, and I can probably commit a little bit of crime. The reputation is really important. If people know that you can commit fraud, or if a property isn't verifying information,
Just comes flooding in.
they'll start flooding in. We bought a property, story all too well. Some of our investors do. Previous owner wasn't screening on purpose because they were just trying to fill the thing up. When we started screening, we started denying 50% of all applicants, which is a statistic that they mentioned in this story, that they're finding are committing fraud. And it's because the last owner and property manager said, yeah, let's fill it up. We don't care. We're trying to sell this thing. We're just trying to get occupancy up.
Yeah, somebody's going to come buy this problem from us.
Yeah. And it's a great property. We fixed it, but it was a lot to fix. And it was a reputation problem that we had to quickly address. And we caught it like just in the nick of time. So now that reputation doesn't exist anymore, and people are like, oh, you can't go.
Yeah, can't go there.
You can't go slow. You can't go there and try to pull a quick one. They're going to check. But it's just something that we live through in the property management world, and this is where post-COVID apartment investing, it's not just you got to buy right, you got to execute the value add plan, but it's operations. It's like day to day. How do you make sure that your residents are the right quality of residents, someone who is actually qualified to pay? And people will loosen up some of that qualifying, the elements, to try to get more leases. Then you end up paying for it because you set someone up. Either you set someone up for failure, they're qualified for something they really can't afford. An example of like that is individuals are qualified based on the rent to income, not on what they're actually going to pay for the apartment and their income. So like you're renting an apartment for $1,000 a month, you make $3,000 a month, 30% of your income. Well, you're at the peak, but technically you qualify if 30% is your ratio or your percentage. But that doesn't include utilities. It doesn't include any fees. It doesn't include anything else. And as everyone knows, there's utilities. It's a couple $100 usually. There's fees, and so someone's real nut. It's not $1,000. It's like $1,300. They don't qualify. They're told though that they can afford it, and so they get the apartment, but they can't actually afford it, and so that puts themselves into a really bad situation. And so it's operators being short-sighted of let's fill this thing up, but not worrying about the actual rent that we're going to collect.
Right.
And once that person fails to pay over and over again, you have to move to an eviction. Evictions are so expensive. And that's why we prefer to work with residents who are good residents, good members of the community, want to pay, something happened, we want to keep you because it's expensive to fix your unit back up and to go lease it out. It's going to sit vacant for 2 months. that's money that we're never going to see anyway, and we have to spend money to get it ready. Then we have to go release it. I'd rather like give you a month or 2 months to help the situation instead of a payment plan.
Correct. Yeah.
Get back on the right track, and we don't have to spend the money. It's a win-win.
And our portfolio specialist team that you guys have put together
Yeah.
has, I think, done a really tremendous job of offering residents, whether it's across our entire portfolio, folks that are in need of a solution to whether it's a temporary or long-standing issue with overall rent payments or affordability. We've kind of rolled out this package or suite of solutions that they can use to their advantage, and then obviously on the back end, Gray Residential, Gray Capital, and our limited partners are all the beneficiaries of that, but also the resident, because now they're not sitting in a prolonged state of delinquency, and they have a property manager who not only wants them to live there, but is offering to provide their own time and assistance to make certain that their home remains their home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't want people to be in a bad
Right.
spot. It's not a good thing for anybody.
No.